Ooh, look at this. All these teeth falling here. Ooh, why? I tell you something, eh? I bet the tooth fairy's gonna make a few grand off these. He's daft, but we love him, don't we? Hey up everybody, how are we doing? So I thought I'd do a bit of a different format today. Rather than doing a video on an individual prehistoric animal or a group of prehistoric animals, I thought I'd go through some of my collection. So what better to start off with than, not them, these guys, Mosasaurs. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Tethysaurus Yorkshire, I mean, why wouldn't I start with them? So first off, we're going to start with the girl herself. This is Tethany, this is my Tethysaurus, which was collected in Morocco, and actually was part of my undergraduate and postgraduate projects at the University of Portsmouth, and she is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous specimen. And here's a little close-up view of the teeth in the maxilla, which is the cheekbone, and you can see these are nice little daggers, probably perfectly shaped for catching small fish and maybe occasionally even biting into the odd ammonite or two that live at the same place at the same time as Tethysaurus. Now this is actually a very special piece that I got recently. I had this printed. This is the 3D print to scale of the holotype of Tethysaurus, basically the main specimen that we use for comparing other specimens to, and this was an absolute beauty when I first got it. Absolutely gorgeous. It's to scale, so Tethysaurus wasn't a very big mosasaur. Probably the biggest ones at the moment we know probably got to about 3 or 4 meters in length. The holotype was probably around about 3 meters. Another little piece that I've actually had printed is this depiction of Aegyalosaurus dalmaticus, which is the type species of Aegyalosaurus, an Aegyalosaurid that precedes Tethysaurus. So this one would have had differently shaped hip and probably was still able to work its way up onto land, unlike Tethysaurus. Now this is a certain 3D print where if you hold it up to the light you can actually see the picture coming through, and that is absolutely brilliant. I need to get this on the windowsill at some point, but I don't have enough space on the windowsill, unfortunately. So first up, we got this wonderful repaint by a good friend of mine over in America. This is the Safari Ltd Tylosaurus, which I was not a fan of the paint scheme on that, so I actually had my friend actually repaint it to sort of match the Mosasaurus lemunurensis that was used in Nature's Compendium's Mosasaur video. Now these 3 pieces are actually presumably Tylosaurus material from Texas, from the Ozark Formation. As you can see, this one's a bit of a crushed vertebra. This is probably a tail vertebra, as you can see from the hemial arch attachments there. Quite crushed, but beautiful preservation, to be fair. I mean, it's not great, but it's still a Tylosaur vertebra, which is brilliant. And you still get the profile. Now this one's probably more in the thoracic or maybe even cervical vertebra. It's a bit worn down, unfortunately, but again, it's got some bulk to it. So it could be Tylosaurus, it could be something else, who knows. And the other bone that I have is a bit of paddle bone. Now many of these would have made up an entire paddle in Tylosaurus. Tylosaur paddles differ from other mosasaur paddles. I mean, there seems to be possibly some convergence in mosasaur paddles, but who knows at this point. So a majority of my actual Tylosaur material in the collection is actually made up of the phosphatic Moroccan remains of Haenosaurus bucca, which is actually a relatively new species of Tylosaur. I was aware of Tylosaur material coming out of Morocco for a time before that, but I was not actually aware that it was being studied until now. And you can see the teeth are sort of got that medial recurvature to it. Haenosaurus bucca teeth seem to have these sort of light or even strong faceting with some striae. This is a beautiful example, this one. I like this one. This one's got a nice hook to it. And you can actually see on the base there, you can see those individual sort of little lines there, they're the striae. Now this is a massive one. This one's about 7 centimeters in height, which is, to my knowledge, the biggest I've ever come across personally. There could be bigger ones out there, but it's got that beautiful striae. You can see it just reflecting there. Absolutely gorgeous. And then we've got some smaller examples, like this one's still got a bit of the root and a bit of the jaw. This is probably the anterior. As you can see, there's no carinae on the back, no serration on the back there. And then there's this one, which is a small little tooth that has a bit of root to it. Again, this one is probably anterior because there is no carinae on the back, no serrated edge on the back. So this is just a small selection of those teeth, and there's loads more up on my collection. Now the next lot here, I'm not really going to get down, just because there's a bit of just intertangling, if you like. We have the Collectae Mosasaurus. This is the larger version, and this is the smaller version. Both fantastic models. We also have the PNSO Mosasaurus, but this one I sort of think reflects more of a Mosasaurus lemunnii, just because of the skull shape and the skull proportions to the rest of the body, but who knows, I could be wrong. The Papo Mosasaurus, apologies for the lighting, but you can see back there, he's just sort of hanging around, he's twisting around these mosasaur vertebrae that you can see there. And then, I'll actually get this one out. Now this is a replica of a Mosasaurus half-marni tooth. You can see the ribsorption pit there. This is an absolute beast. There's another one just over there as well. Now you can see this one is an absolute beauty as well. It actually has a piece of the jaw. Just absolutely gorgeous tooth, absolutely beautiful. And then you can even see a secondary tooth actually pushing through right there, so that will create a reabsorption pit. Fantastic, fantastic piece. Both those pieces come from GeoEd, which is a sort of educational fossil replica company based in Scarborough. Do go on their website, they've got a huge range of replicas, and this one is one of them. So with the majority of the Mosasaurus material being made up of Mosasaurus bugai teeth in my collection from the phosphates of Morocco, I actually noticed something a lot with these teeth. So you can sort of see very distinct faceting, as with this one. This one, you can sort of see the faceting on that. Now, if I get one of these larger ones, you can see they're not as distinct. In fact, this one I actually bought assuming it was a Mosasaurus half-marni, but it actually turned out later to be a Mosasaurus bugai, just a very large one. And I think Mosasaurus bugai, as it got larger, the teeth actually lost the faceting. So there seems to be some structural benefit there to losing the facet and enlarging the base of your teeth, because as you can see, this individual has quite a rounded tooth, whilst this individual has the diagnostic U-shaped cross-section that you see in Mosasaurus. So again, not really a collection I'm going to get down, but these are actually teeth from Pleurodens serpentis, which was a large piece of Pleurodens known from Morocco, and these are elements of the smaller Halisaurus arenborgii. In fact, this is the tooth of one which is not as abrupt in the recurvature, as you can see in Pleurodens. Now, in fact, I've got my largest Pleurodens tooth in my hand, which I'm going to show you now, and this is my biggest Pleurodens serpentis tooth, and you can see there's a sort of distinct recurvature. You can see the distinct ridging, and this is a tooth that's about nearly, I think, just over 3 centimeters, if I remember correctly. And the paper that originally described Pleurodens serpentis says that the teeth could only get to about 2 centimeters, which goes to show that maybe this animal, either the teeth in this particular individual were much larger, or this animal, Pleurodens serpentis, was getting much, much bigger. So these are two really interesting fossils of the long-snouted Gave Yalamimus. Now, this one was a jaw that I actually picked up from a friend who had been to Morocco. Actually got some vertebra in there, you can see, but you can just see the details on the teeth and the jaw are absolutely fantastic. In fact, I think here is potentially a bite mark from something. Now, I don't know what probably bit it. Could be another mosasaur, but it's just interesting to have a sort of fossil with a pathology on it, especially a mosasaur. Now, the other piece of Gave Yalamimus that I have that I'm quite proud of is this tooth that actually has its root still, and you can see the resorption pit is quite far back on the root, and there's that lovely faceting and striing. And if the camera wants to focus, come on, focus, thank you. Absolutely gorgeous tooth. Really, really do love Gave Yalamimus teeth. So next up from the shelf, I've got my Phalastotitan stuff, and as you can see, this is the blunted tooth of what was formerly known as Prognathon curii, and now I assign it to Phalastotitan curii. I don't think it's an Atrox. I mean, the teeth don't look that recurved, as in Phalastotitan Atrox. Here's another example. You can see very blunted, definitely not recurved. Like this tooth. This is probably my first Prognathodon, Philastititan atrox, Prognathodon, unbelievable. Now this is a good example of a rooted Philastititan tooth. This is one I picked up back in November. Fantastic little tooth, absolutely fantastic. I mean, even the serrations on it are absolutely gorgeous. Now, you might come across some small Philastititan teeth like this. Don't be fooled. These are not Cretaceous teeth, unfortunately. These are Philastititan teeth, and they're the very posterior teeth. So if you ever come across teeth like this, they're not Cretaceous teeth, unfortunately. They are Philastititan teeth. Now, this is a reconstructed Philastititan tooth and root, and it's been reconstructed, yes, with plaster, you can see around there, but it's actually been reconstructed correctly. You can actually see the resorting pits in the right place. Now, the tooth itself is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And in fact, if you actually saw recently, I actually received this replica Philastititan tooth and root as a Christmas present, and whilst it's not got the detail of the actual teeth, it's actually really brilliant, a really brilliant comparison with the actual rooted tooth that you can see there. It's actually really, really fascinating to see that someone has actually incidentally got this right. This is actually quite a cool piece. This is a Philastititan tooth alongside the jaw elements of a pycnodont fish, a sort of crushing fish. I actually was part of a paper that actually described and analysed a bunch of pycnodont jaws from the phosphates that had been partially digested, most likely by Philastititan. So these elements here are actually from globidens. Now this one is not from the Moroccan phosphate. This is actually part of a jawbone from a Texas globidens. See, little stumpy tooth. Not exactly sure what species it is, but you know, I don't think I'll ever find out. This tooth comes from the Moroccan phosphate globidens simplex. As you can see, quite a tall, sort of tallish tooth, I guess you could say, unlike the sort of more squat tooth of globidens phosphaticus. If it'll focus, come on, focus, there we go. You can see it's got that sort of groove there, which is quite common in globidens phosphaticus specimens. And this is the anterior tooth of a globidens with the root still in place. Definitely a rare find and a welcome addition to my collection, definitely. Now, the final tooth I actually want to show off is a pretty interesting one, and this is quite a rare one. This is a stelladens tooth, as you can see by the 3 carinae on the front and the single carinae at the back. Now, these used to be thought to be pathological teeth of Philastititan, but as of recently, they're a distinct species, and I am super, super happy to have this in my collection. Now, I know I haven't shown everything today, but unfortunately, very limited time on what I can do on TikTok, so I might do a part 2 to this, but anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Ta-ta.